What is poppin', people? Today's in-depth review is going to be Penthouse, The War in Life. It is one of the most infamous K-dramas out right now. You guys might have seen some memes or impressions from K-pop idols in regards to Penthouse, or even some Korean celebrities talking about it. I watched the whole thing on Twitch. If you want to watch all of my reactions, check it out on the description below. A bit of time has passed, and I feel ready to give a full, proper, in-depth review of Penthouse, The War in Life. The show, in the most general sense, is a double-edged sword. What I mean by that is some of its best qualities are just as much its worst qualities. A lot of what I love about the show is what I hate about the show. I'm gonna go into depth about what I really mean by that. As of this entire video, I'm gonna try to keep this spoiler-free as possible so anyone wanting to watch it can still enjoy the show after watching this video. We're gonna be talking about three main aspects: the story, the characters, and the soundtrack. First with the story. At the beginning, the story was great. Riveting characters from even episode 1. Two of the main protagonists were fantastically introduced. Their rivalry was already well established by the time the pilot episode was done. There were a lot of story writing highs. The twists felt refreshing and realistic. I was getting hyped up almost every single episode. And the character arcs written for those two main protagonists, masterfully written. What's great about their backstories is you can feel and relate to the trauma that each of them dealt with growing up. And then you could also see in real time the consequences of them growing up in those environments. As for the other protagonist, you can legitimately see her trauma unfold in real time, which is also great. For the beginning portions of Penthouse, other than the obvious flaws, which I will point out later, the show as a whole was very enjoyable to watch. Keep in mind, I say from the beginning of Penthouse. Notice I didn't say the end of Penthouse, but we'll get to that. Character-wise, I gotta say, first and foremost, the acting is god tier. The acting is easily the best part in the show. Every actor, actress who was in Penthouse, major character or minor, had impeccable acting. Other than a handful of scenes that were questionable, the acting department was near spotless. I have little complaints with the acting. Another quality that I really enjoyed from the show was the pettiness. If there's one thing that I love in watching these K-dramas, it's the pettiness. And the pettiness in this show is unmatched. People in the series continually giving jabs to each other in the most savage, impersonal way. Penthouse is nothing if not pity. Moving on, I gotta go to the characters themselves. This is when that double-edged sword comes into play, especially in regards to the character arcs. Penthouse is a show where your opinion of certain characters will change a lot over the course of time. Whether it's something of their backstory that is revealed or something they do in the show that changes your whole perception of them. Sometimes that's a great thing, and sometimes it's a bad thing. There were some characters in the show that I felt indifferent towards in season 1, but in season 2, they became one of my favorite people. However, when season 3 came, their whole growth just reverted. It's almost as if all their trials and tribulations that they went through to improve themselves went out the goddamn window. People who watch Penthouse with me, you know who I'm talking about. Another great example would be a character that I initially didn't like, but I eventually grew to empathize and like them, not only because of their clear mental instability, but also their horrible childhood environment. Penthouse is a type of show that makes you feel for even the most evil characters, and that, I think, is a good example of great writing. Onto the soundtrack. Objectively wise, it's fantastic. Whoever was behind creating that, they need a raise. My problem with the soundtrack is not actually with the music itself, but how it was sometimes implemented. At its best moments, it elevates the climactic scenes even further, making whatever mind-blowing thing that was happening even more mind-blowing. But as the show progresses, it felt as if it over-relied on the music. The extravagant, epic music plays literally every episode. Every single episode. Almost as if a subtle reminder for you that, hey, what you're watching right now is an epic show. You're supposed to get hype. It gets old after a certain period of time. Now that I got the general review out of the way, I want to get into the nitty-gritty of each season. Starting off with season 1, I'm going to say right out the gate, it is the best season. By far. Best written season, it was the most consistent season. It had the best character arcs. Not to mention, it had the best plot twist in the entire show. Apart from a few stupid schemes here and there, and a terrible, just awful rebellious phase from a certain someone, the season was great. Maybe it's because the whole Penthouse concept was still fresh and starting out, but for me, the best parts of the entire show, you're gonna find in season 1. Moving on to season 2, while it's not as good as season 1, I still found it enjoyable. It still continued off what made Penthouse so great before, so if you really enjoyed season 1, chances are you're gonna like season 2 as well. However, to me, what made this stand apart from season 1, and arguably its best part, was with its character growth. There were multiple instances where people who I previously found either really annoying annoying or really uninteresting grew to be some of my favorite characters in the entire show. And similar to the main protagonists in the previous season, more minor characters' motivations and stories become more fleshed out, and you start to understand why they are the way they are. And the twists don't stop coming either with season 2. You have 2 more jaw-dropping, crazy plot twists. With one of them, I was unfortunately already spoiled. However, when I was watching it still, the way it was executed and acted still had me speechless. I was flabbergasted at how well done it was. Even if I did know what happened, I was still... I'm not going to go too deep into the other plot twists because that ties into my next point, the downsides of season 2. What tripped me up immediately at the beginning was the sudden time skip. So much stuff was different, and people who were originally enemies somehow are now together. For the most part, a lot of it felt unanswered, and I was essentially forced to just accept it. It was starting to get unrealistic. What was great about season 1 was that it was freaking crazy. However, season 2 got too crazy, and I gotta say, the ending for season 2 was shit. I'm sorry. Someone has to say it. The season 2 ending of Penthouse was dog shit. Penthouse could have ended right there, right then and there, and I doubt anyone would have had a problem with it, or not as nearly as big of a problem. But the unnecessary cliffhanger at the end, why? Then we get to the start of season 3 with the prison arc. It's such a dumb fucking arc. Served no purpose and did nothing but make a bunch of characters that I originally took seriously look like absolute dumbasses. It was a clown fest of a storyline. Also, new people were introduced into the story, but we were so neck deep into Penthouse already, adding a bunch of new people at this point was a complete waste of time. Either someone who had actual promise being interesting eventually turned out to be a cuck, or they were just an inferior copy of a previously done character. I didn't care for any of the new people, I'm sorry. And at this point, I didn't even really care about the story. It got so over the top and the plot got so wild, it was utterly ridiculous. The season tried to be so hard what it wasn't. Buildings exploding, tuxedos, gunfights, bomb detonators. You're not James Bond, you're not John Wick. You're a goddamn show about a music school. Stick to that, please. That being said, I have to give credit to where credit is due. There were still some highlights. The acting was still top-notch, fantastic from beginning to end. All the actors and actresses are extremely talented. There was also one last plot twist in the show that I felt was actually worthwhile. It really redeemed a certain character for me. I never really hated her to begin with, but seeing her transformation after that, despite how late it was nice. The last highlight of season 3 would be the ending, or at least part of the ending. The children, or the students, I should say, got good closure at the end. I was happy with how all of them turned out. The adults... I'm just not going to talk about that. Overall, I can't deny that I had a lot of fun watching this. The characters are extremely memorable, to the point where when I watch other K-dramas, if a character is similar to that of a Penthouse character, I call them by their Penthouse name, not their actual name. I'll watch All of Us Are Dead, see the main protagonist, and I'll call her Bayrona. I'll see some other tall, handsome guy, and I'll call him Sakun. People in my stream know I have that problem. If you do decide to watch it, and I do recommend watching it, both for good reasons or for bad, this show is nothing if not interesting. For season 1 of Penthouse, I'm giving an 8 out of 10. For season 2, I'm giving a 7 out of 10. And for season 3, I'm giving a 4 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for watching. Did you agree? Did you disagree? Leave it in the comments below. I'll see you guys later.